You are listening to Deconstruction Podcast, presented by the Architectural Authority magazine.
Most people think that Feng Shui is
that
more decorations, hanging a little crystal or putting a couple of mandarin ducks, and they say, oh, that's going to help, with the relationship. When in fact, the whole entire bedroom is in the wrong location of the home. So you can hang all those little knickknacks. It's not going to help you.
Exactly.
So just by looking at their chart and looking at their space, I would, if I'm in their home, I would know if they're having health or relationship problems, because the bedroom is health and relationship. The kitchen represents the wealth. So when I'm in their kitchen, if everything is not arranged accordingly with their, chart, then I know if they're having financial difficulties or if they're thriving in their finances.
This episode is brought to you by WAD Designs Custom Woodwork. From design and build to installation, WAD Designs handles every detail in-house, ensuring a seamless, high-quality experience. WAD Designs, designed with heart, built with purpose.
This is Deconstruction, a space where we explore the ideas, trends, and stories shaping the world of architecture, design, and construction. From creative visions to business challenges, we dive into everything influencing the industry and how to navigate it. This podcast is produced by the Architectural Authority magazine, a platform committed to supporting creators and giving a voice to those who turn visions into reality. Today, we welcome Sylvia Lu, an interior designer and Feng Shui consultant who blends aesthetics mastery with energetic alignment. Sylvia studied at Chelsea College of Art and Design in London and comes from a lineage of Feng Shui masters, including her mother, Dr. Macy Lu. Her practice bridges Eastern spatial wisdom with modern real estate strategies, bringing harmony to luxury homes across Miami. Welcome, Sylvia. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good. I'm very glad to have you here and have this conversation about this topic that I love them, that much. And I think we should jump into matter right away. The main question that I always get asked is, okay, what is Feng Shui? What is Feng Shui? So tell us, because you are here, you are the expert.
Well, thanks for having me. And I just wanted to first explain what is Feng Shui. Feng Shui is actually the art of placement. And Feng Shui, the two characters, represents wind and water in translation. Wind and water are two elements that people cannot live without. When we say wind, it's basically energy, because energy is the universal life forces of all things. So nothing would exist without energy. So the Chinese, we use that term a little bit loosely. So wind is really energy, wind and water. So the wind and water is the most important. And also, if you look at civilizations, a lot of civilizations, the thriving ones, are all near water. So that's the reason wind and water, we actually use the term wind and water.
It's very confusing for people, and we were talking about this in the when we were preparing this. Understand what it's really Feng Shui and whatever it's people around doing things that are not like that, because they get confused on the basics of what it is and what a real master in this practice should be doing or knowing, right? So can you explain us a little bit, what is the actual mastery of this and how really works? Because it's not moving furniture around.
Right, correct. Like I said earlier, wind and water. But what it really means is it's balancing everything in life. For example, it's based on the yin and the yang and the 5 elements. When everything is arranged properly, when there's a balance, everything will, thrive. So, for example, the Eastern philosophy, Eastern way, when we do, the Eastern medicine, the Chinese medicine, it's balancing your body. And the Feng Shui is balancing your living space or your working space. And I do have to say, I've been in Miami for 20 plus years, and I've heard so many people use that term loosely. They think that it's trendy, so they use that word almost, oh, this is not Feng Shui or this is Feng Shui. But, if I'm actually giving a lecture or if I'm educating people, I want people to know when we use the term feng shui, it really it's applicable to whether it's your living space or your working space, because, it's not something that is a fad, because it's been passed on for thousands of years and it's really scientific, and it's not, a belief system. I have people telling me basically, oh, I don't believe it, therefore it's not going to affect me. Whether you believe it or not, it's going to affect you. It's just like the air we breathe, and you cannot see it. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So I
Yes.
think that people need to keep an open mind, because if you actually are open to it, you believe it, it can only help you. And if you don't believe it, it's still going to affect you, but it's going
Correct.
to prevent you from, thriving if you actually shun, the concept, or, it's not going to help you. So I do think that people, if you're open-minded, it can only help you. So when we balance our space, working space, or your living space, you're going to thrive. And for the home, it's about overall harmony, good health, positive relationships, abundance. Those are all the key ingredients that makes a happy, healthy life. And for the business, people are in business to grow and to prosper, to make money. So the emphasis is very different. But, we're trying to achieve, certain things for, the space. So if a client hires me for their home, I'm going to help them with, making sure the relationship flows between, the members in the family, and also abundance, and also the um, overall harmony. And when I'm helping people in the business sense, I'm helping them grow their business and to make money. That's why people are in business, to make money. So that's the difference between doing a residential or a commercial space. Yes.
Sylvia, in terms of the actual science that is behind, because I like that you just said, like, this is not a belief, it's something that you can prove. So how would you explain to someone that it's, consulting you, this is science that you can prove it? How would you explain it?
Well, I can tell you, most of the people hiring me, they already have some problems. And the funny thing is, I don't know anything about my clients. Oh, before I even go there, my consultation is customized. So that sets it apart, because some people, they actually read a book or they took a class and they call themselves masters. They know very little. They know the very sort of, superficial aspects. What I do is, I do the customized consultation. So what that means is I would actually need to get your information so that I can actually create your customized feng shui chart. So I know everything about you, with your energy, the directions and whatnot, the element that you are. So the day that I come to your home or your business, I have your customized chart. So I know exactly how to go about arranging your home according to you. So when people actually hire me to do their home, I don't know anything about my client. And just by looking at their chart and looking at their space, I would, if I'm in their home, I would know if they're having health or
Yeah.
relationship problems, because the bedroom is health and relationship. The kitchen represents the wealth. So when I'm in their kitchen, if everything is not arranged accordingly with their, chart, then I know if they're having financial difficulties or if they're thriving in their finances.
Yeah, that's very
So that
interesting.
is the difference,
Yeah.
between just decorative, moving a couple of tables and chairs. Because most people think that feng shui is
Is that-
more decorations, hanging a little crystal or putting a couple of mandarin ducks, and they say, oh, that's going to help, with the relationship, when in fact the whole entire bedroom is in the wrong location of the home. So you can hang all those little knickknacks, it's not going to help you.
Exactly.
So
Sylvia, I would like to take something that you just said, because the people that is, like, the audience that is listening to us will have questions about what is the chart, how do you start the consultation, what are you looking when you get to a place. So talk a little bit more in depth of what is the evaluation that you do, that chart, where do you start?
okay, if you are interested, you would give me a call, and then I would actually need to get your personal data.
Mhm.
With your personal data, then I can create your customized Feng Shui chart.
Mhm.
It has what element you are, your energy flow, the direction that are good for you. So once I prepare that, this is to be done
Mhm.
beforehand. So then we make an appointment to
Mhm.
come to your home to do the thorough evaluation. It's a very, very comprehensive. So depending on the size of your home or your business, the space, then I can give you approximate time. For example, if your home, it's a average size home, 2,000 square feet,
Mhm.
it's going to take a good 2-3 hours.
Good.
So for example, if you have a mansion, it may take a whole entire day. If you have a 1 bedroom or a studio, it may take an hour or an hour and a half. So depending on the space. And then when I go to your home, I have your customized charts, and then I would actually arrange it according to you. So it's very, very specific.
Mhm.
And that's
What is the
why
data that you collect beforehand? So of course the name and etc. But
I would
what
need
is
to get
important?
your date of birth,
Okay.
place of birth, and the time.
Okay.
And
And the
then
location of the house,
then
the
of course,
space.
I would actually bring my compass. Then I would actually take a reading and see if it matches up, with your chart. For
Mhm.
example, the front door. Why is it so important? I'm sure you've already heard, some of the Asian, clients. Oh, I need to have my front door facing a certain way. The
Mhm.
front door represents the entryway into your life.
Okay.
So if the front door actually facing a bad facing for you, how would I know? Because I have your chart. So
But it's
if it's
customized then. So it's not every front door needs to follow a certain position. It's customized to you.
yes,
Oh,
according to you. So
important.
once I have your feng shui chart, I know if your front door needs to face east or west. And if
Mhm.
I see that you're a west person, your front door faces east, then that's a problem. So the front door represents the
Mhm.
entryway into your
Wow.
life. So if the front door actually faces a bad facing, then every day you're going to walk through that set of door that's going to create negative energy.
Oh,
So if the facing is good, then every day you walk through that set of doors, it's going to create positive energy.
excellent.
And I can already tell you, no one lives in a perfect space unless you custom build.
Mhm.
And most of my clients are actually, they already have an existing space. There are a handful of people, they have the luxury of custom building. And
Mhm.
I do have some clients, but most of the people already have an existing space.
Retrofit.
So
Mhm.
any problems I see, I will teach people how to remedy the problem. Just like you said, if the front door
Mhm.
is a good facing, we don't
Mhm.
need to do anything. But if the front door faces a bad facing, we will find solutions to solve that problem. So what I normally do is we will do that thorough evaluation with your customized charts.
Mhm.
And then depend also if you live, with others, your family, your husband, your wife, your kids, or
Every
you're single. So we need to establish why are we doing. If you're a single person, we can actually help you, promote, relationship, for example. But if you are already, in a
in
family, you want to make sure it's overall harmony so everybody lives well together
Mhm.
under the same roof. So
Excellent.
then once we go, we start, we literally do a very thorough evaluation. Not only the interior, that's another myth I want people to know. Feng
Mhm.
Shui, it's not only the inside,
Mhm.
it's the whole entire aspiration of the proposed property.
Mhm.
What does that mean?
Gardens.
We
Mhm.
start from the outside. We need to look at your surrounding area. That is the big picture, the
Mhm.
macro.
Mhm.
And then what I'm looking for is your neighboring home.
Replacing the sun.
The right, if your neighbor's home is, in relation to your home, the streets in relation to your home. If you have water, where's the water? Because water is very, very important. Why is that? Because water in the right places can help you. Water in the wrong places can harm you. What does that mean? Because some people, they have, a bay or a lake or a swimming pool, even if it's man-made, or
Mhm.
the ocean even. So we need to look at exactly where the water is in relation to your home. And we need to look at the streets in relation to your home. Do you have a T-junction? Are you at a dead-end street? Those are all major things to look at.
Incredible.
Then we look at the shape of your plot, the contours of the land, and then we look at the dwelling itself. So it's from macro to micro. So it's not just moving a couple of tables and chairs.
It's a deep assessment.
Very, very thorough.
I have a question. Once you have the first process of the assessment, you identify, you create your diagnosis, you create your charts, and then you give them the resolution. Have you ever been able to measure the quality of the impact in terms of any type of real data from before and after that? Because now there's so many technologies that you can use to measure, let's say the heart rate, let's say your brain wave. So can you measure the impact of your work before and after?
Well, it would be the customer, my client, calling me weeks, months, years later to tell me, Sylvia, what you've done, you really have changed my life.
Perfect.
And I can tell you, most of my clients are repeats. What does that mean? If I've done their home, they're so happy. If they buy another home, they want me to do it, or they would tell their friends and family because they see the results. And I already know it could help
them,
because it's energy. And yes, I mean, certain things you can actually measure, if you're talking about your physique, you can measure, with, the blood pressure machine. But Feng Shui, basically, people will know the difference. That's why they will call me over and over and over again. And they would not recommend me if they actually, don't see the result. So they're repeat customers. And I can tell you, just by going into their space, because they call me because they have a problem.
Of course.
I don't even know anything about what their problem is. I call it out. So they already know that I'm onto, why they have a problem. So it's all about energy.
And then you can see it when you walk into a space and you know how it should be versus the actual what you encounter when you walk in. You can say, okay, you have problems here, here, and there. You don't need them to tell you what is wrong, right? Because you already know without them telling you.
Yeah, so I'm just confirming what they're experiencing. So immediately they said, wow, how do you know I'm having this problem? Because I can see, first of all, your chart, your customized chart, and it doesn't match up with what I'm seeing, then I know that you're having this problem. So immediately the light bulb went off. So once they actually take the remedies, because there are different ways of remedying the problem too. What does that mean? For example, if you have a missing piece in your home, there are Band-Aids, there's stitches, or you can make it so that you don't have a problem. What does that mean? If, for example, if you cannot do too much because you don't have the finances to do a whole lot, we can do a Band-Aid. A Band-Aid would be something like creative landscaping or lighting. And if you want to do a little bit more like stitches, that kind of remedy, we can maybe do something more structural, like an awning, or a roofing of some sort, even if it doesn't, have to be enclosed. But if you actually built an extension so you don't have a missing piece, you don't even have a problem. So there are different levels of remedy,
of course,
depending on what you can or cannot do. Physically, sometimes you cannot do what you cannot do. If you live in a condo, that piece that is missing, it's not even part of your unit or it's in the hallway, then you can only do more superficial. But if you have a single family house, people can do more remedies because they can literally, extend, they can
intervene
do
the structure.
Yeah, you can actually do roofing of some sort, put an awning, you can do more. You have more choices, more options. So that's the solution, to find the right remedy for your situation.
Yeah.
And sometimes it cannot be achieved. For example, if your house is, at a dead-end street or T-junction, even if the inside is, nicely feng shui, but you're going to have major problems because, like I said, the big picture is like the health of your body. It's like, do you have cancer? The interior is more like a nice haircut, nice makeover, nice clothing. You can always do with getting a nice haircut, nice clothing. But if you actually live, on a dead-end street and the street is running onto you,
Mhm.
You have major problems. So you can look beautiful, but you have
Mhm.
cancer, you're sick, you're terminally ill. So
That
there are cases I would say, you know what, I think that it's best that you move because these are problems that cannot be really solved, because it's much bigger than just things that you can
yes.
do within your control.
Yeah, and that's where that your career ties with real estate, and that I was very impressed when I read that because it just makes sense that you start your assessment at the acquisition, at the moment when you are going to pick as your future space, because that I will guess that that affects you a lot because okay, if you have a listing and the listing is totally wrong, you won't sell it the best price. How do you market something that it's structurally wrong? So how tell us a little bit how your real estate career also ties with the feng shui and all of this sequence of making the life of people better.
Well, I got into real estate in 2005, so it's 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I got involved is because my feng shui client said, why don't you help me find the right home? So I'm
Uh-huh.
thinking, why not? So light bulb went off. So I got my license, and basically there are two different, aspects: the buying and selling. And if you're actually a buyer, let's get me involved so I can help you find the right home
Mm-hmm.
instead of a home. Any realtor can find a home, but I can find the right home
For
because
them
I will
specifically, exactly.
because I will have done your chart. I will already know your front door should be facing this way. I'm
That's
already looking
unique.
at the big picture to make sure that certain things are not bad. So that would be a consideration.
That's unique.
And if you're a seller, you're trying to sell something that has to appeal to the masses. So I can help you arrange it to promote overall harmony. So whoever comes to your listing to see if the energy is good,
Mm-hmm.
then, or if it's something that has to appeal to the masses, then I will teach you how to. I think that most people call it staging. I would take it a little bit further
Mm-hmm.
because staging is more aesthetic. Feng shui is energy, so energy and aesthetic. And because I studied at the college for art, so it's like killing two birds with one stone.
Mm-hmm.
So not only aesthetically, it goes without saying, has to
Mm-hmm.
be beautiful, but energy wise, it's appealing, so that whoever comes to your home to
Makes sense.
to see, is this a good home for me, they would actually keep it in mind. Because a lot of times you go into a space, people cannot see the potential. So it's
Mm-hmm.
important that you arrange it so that you can, get that house sold. So that's, two separate, whether
No, but I love it.
you're selling or you're buying. But I think that the buying is more important because I'm going to help you find your right home.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
that's the
And
difference.
there are values or elements that for you are like right there that a typical real estate agent or our owner will not realize, like you said, like the power on the street, like the location in relationship with the streets or the other buildings around. The typical realtor will not see that that is a problem or
Correct.
that of if every or any arrangement around will create any impact on the property. So I think that that consulting for the purchasing is unique, because if somebody understands that energy can help you align with your purpose, with your life, you know, going through your life with with an ease, you will put more attention in where do you live, who is the people that is the consultants that help you buy the following project. But one of the questions that came up to my mind when we were discussing before was, okay, how we introduce this into condominiums, like in the phase of pre-construction, in the phase of planning, because the majority of the developers will not find, or at the moment, they don't understand the value of having something energetically aligned, because it will also help them sell. But how we can explain that to whoever a developer or investor that is looking at this, the value of the feng shui in the sense of condominiums.
Well, this is actually my passion because I've been doing this pretty much all my life. Again, I'm not a novice. Just even backtrack. I'm not a novice. My mom is a Feng Shui master,
Mm-hmm.
and the Feng Shui that I practice is the traditional Feng Shui. And there are many different schools of Feng Shui,
We
and
need
there
to
are
talk
some
about that.
so new I don't even know. There are people just making things up. This is the one that
Mm-hmm.
has been passed on for thousands of years. And basically, I grew up learning it. It's a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I want people to
Mm-hmm.
know it's not literally just moving things about. It's really to live it and to, to capture that energy so that you live well. So now fast forward, I've been doing feng shui pretty much, all my
Mm-hmm.
life, and I've been here 20 plus years. And the fact that um instead of trying to help people one home at a time, one business at a time, right now I'm very passionate about building alliances with developers
Mm-hmm.
because we can help in a, much bigger way. If the whole entire building is built
Mm-hmm.
correctly,
Mm-hmm.
when is it before I even go there, when is the best time to use feng shui? The earlier, the better in the planning stages.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we can
Exactly.
build the buildings correctly, for example, then everybody who lives in that building will
Mm-hmm.
benefit. And it's a win 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 situation for everyone, for the end user, the buyers, for
Mm-hmm.
the developers, because they will see that people are living well. When
Mm-hmm.
they build more, they have confidence to buy from them again.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it really, I can help in a bigger sense instead of one band-aid at a time, one home at a time. So
You
right
will impact
now I
communities.
am very passionate about building alliances
Mm-hmm.
with developers so that we can actually build buildings correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And impacting communities instead of people, because if you impact one family, the better way, like impacting the whole community, the whole building, the whole if flow of the habitants of the whole community, it really generates a different type of vibe.
of course. In fact, we're not just, an island. Everybody comes together. If you're living well, if a whole entire building is built well,
Hmm.
and everybody who lives in that building is building well, then everyone's going to be thriving. Everyone's going to be,
Hmm.
in harmony with each other.
What do you think is the most common mistake in condominiums that you find in every each condominium that it's being built around? Like the main mistakes.
Well, the thing is, there are so many buildings, and I can tell you, since I got into real estate, I do like to go and preview different buildings,
Hmm.
different properties,
Hmm.
and I keep it in my mind. And if it's a building that has, positive energy, good, good harmony, then I would definitely keep it in mind to recommend to any of potential, clients of mine. And if it's a building that actually is built faulty, and
Hmm.
there are quite a few, so I would definitely not keep those, projects in mind to offer to any of my clients. So yes, it's very important, and especially now, I've noticed that a lot of developers are actually bringing wellness. There are
Hmm.
many projects
Hmm.
right now on the market, and some are a little bit more superficial. When they
Hmm.
say wellness, they're offering more like, oh, we're going to have a spa here, a little
Hmm.
sauna room. Those are a little bit more superficial.
Get,
So,
get into that. Get into that because wellness is not what we are talking about here.
yes,
That term gets
it's
confused so
deeper.
many times. Exactly. So tell us what's the difference between wellness and real health.
The wellness that they're offering, it's the superficial, like I said,
A spa.
decor, little knick-knacking, those kind of things. The spas and the sauna rooms. Yes, that is only much further in the process.
Hmm.
If you're building correctly, making sure that, for example, the hallway, you don't
Hmm.
have units actually at the end of a hallway. Those are all major. So I will teach developers, architects who are on the projects, certain things to steer away when you're designing, when you're planning, those kind of things. So it's not just you're offering a spa inside. That's what they think that it's
Hmm.
wellness.
Hmm.
That is much further down the line.
Hmm.
If your building is built correctly, then you offer that. Then it's a whole package. Then you're healthy. Then you have beautiful haircut, nice
Hmm.
makeover.
Hmm.
Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Yes, yes, totally. One of the things that I do believe, and not all the people that is going to listen to this podcast understand what really energy we are talking about, right? So try to go a little bit in depth of what the actual wellness versus health and how Feng Shui helps into that area, because I do believe that if people used to hear the Feng Shui word, but they don't know what it means in terms of what type of health.
For example, when I go into your home, because in the business, we don't really delve into that. It's when I go to your home, the bedroom actually represents the health and relationship.
Mhm.
So when I go to your home and do the feng shui with your customized chart, if your whole entire bedroom is in the wrong location of the house, then I would know if you're actually thriving health wise or, in your relationship. And then take it from the macro. Then when I go into that room, if the room is correct, that means the big
Mhm.
picture is okay.
Mhm.
Then we need to fine tune the details. The
Mhm.
details is where is the position of your bed, because where your bed is important, because if your bed is in the pathway of the door, the chi is going to cut you. When I say chi, it's energy. The energy will cut you. And most of the time when I tell people, when I see their bed is in the pathway of the door, then I say, you're not living well. And they would nod their head
Mhm.
because they have already experienced the disharmony.
Mhm.
So then I would teach them, this is where you need to put it. And so the specifics, I will actually advise you when, I'm in your space. So that's how I go about it. And for example, the kitchen represents your money, your
Mhm.
wealth. So without knowing anything about you, I have your chart. I would know if you are doing financially sound or not. And they're like, wow, how do you know? Because I have your chart.
And
So
how would you, for example, tell people in general to look for the when they are looking an apartment and they are looking for the kitchen? What would be a like a simple red flag? Like when you walk into a kitchen, what would be a red flag for not renting that space or not buying that apartment? Because one of the things that I do believe is very special of your profile is that you are a realtor. So you know how to
true.
advise customers to find a place. But you because you have the knowledge, you walk in and you already know. But how you could advise people that is just either renting or finding new spaces to find the red flags, find the red flags.
Well, there's the general aspect and there's the customized.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get me, you get the whole entire customized
Of course, of
consultation.
course.
But if you can only do the general, for example, if you're only talking about the kitchen, for example, the appliances that generates heat, the stove, the oven, the microwave, that is heat.
Yes.
The fridge and the sink, the dishwasher, it's water. Water and fire, they're opposing elements. So you would not want to actually have the water next to the fire
Mm.
because the water puts out the fire. They're opposing element. So if you don't get the customized consultation, which I even know where the facing has to be,
Mm-hmm.
the very minimum you would know, you wouldn't want to have your refrigerator here and your stove because it's next to each other.
That's typical in every single location. Like you have the stove and you have the refree. Like in all the
That's
rentals,
what I'm
that's the way
saying.
it is.
So if the developers out there, if you're watching, if you get me
Exactly.
involved, I will actually help you design your whole entire building correctly so
Exactly.
that every unit won't have that problem. But there are many buildings not like that. So that's why I'm doing this one home at a time, help
Mm-hmm.
people fix one band-aid at a time.
Yeah.
So
I
that's the
love that
general.
red flag. I love that red flag because one of the things that if you understand a little bit, because of course you come from a lineage of this knowledge, this practice, right? And you can advise your customers in a different way. But people out there, they do not understand the impact. So having those tips like the red flags or a minimum checklist will be very helpful for people that is looking for a rental. In my case, you move from one space to the other one every couple of years. What do you look in a property as a minimum?
But Also, the fact that most people already have an existing home.
Yes.
So if you actually hire me, I will teach you how to remedy the problem. Because like I said, how many people are actually, can afford to custom build? There's only a handful. I do
If it's
have
a
some
rental, no.
clients, right? So, and of course, like I said, there's the general aspect, you, for example, if you go into, a apartment before you rent or before you buy, yes, the fridge is not next to the stove. But the thing is it facing the right facing? You don't know that. So it's best that you get me involved. But if nothing else, if you can even minimize those kind of problems, such as having, fire, water next to each other or on top of each other, then it would at least, already, help some of the problem. But is in the right position, we don't know. Because, for example, I would take it one step further and even know where the facing should be. Meaning, is your stove, is your microwave oven, your
stove,
the
stove, the microwave, the heat.
The fire appliances actually facing the right way, because any appliances that generates heat generates your money. So we want to make sure it's facing the right direction. And you wouldn't know the direction unless I would, do your chart and, give you, the thorough evaluation.
It is very important because when you do the layout of a building, every kitchen is located depending of where the floor plan is arranged, and not all you can have 10 different type of units, like in layout wise, meaning that you can have the stove north, west, south. And then how do you do to harmonize a whole building in terms of design when you are in pre-construction? Because you will want to build something or design something that will fit the majority of the population. So which rules will follow for you to design like a major plan?
Well,
10 units.
If developers are, getting me involved, we have to do a little bit more general, a little bit more macro, because unless, you custom build your own home, I can't go every single unit for everyone. And that's the reason why I'm a realtor. So once you get me involved, I will choose the right unit for you, for example. And for the big picture is making sure that, for example, the hallway is not leading onto your unit doors. And there are many, many, many buildings.
What do you think when you get out of the elevators and your door is right there? Like you get out of the elevator and the door is just right there. So for me, what's the energy of that? Like it's for me so exposed.
It's not only the elevator, and also, like I said, when I'm doing, single family house, you never want to have a T-junction, a major street leading onto your home. It cuts you. So, for example, if you're in a condo situation, apartment building, you don't want a hallway that runs onto your unit,
like
your
you
door.
Are the end, exactly.
The longer the hallway, the stronger the chi that's going to cut you. So of course, if you're already living that situation, like I already said, most people, they already have an existing home. So when they call me, if I see something like that, then we need to remedy. And there are different ways of remedying depending on what you can or cannot do. And like I said, you're more limited to, doing the remedies in a condo situation because you're only one small unit within the whole entire building. If you have a single family house, you have more options to do remedies. If you have a missing piece, you can build an extension. You're in a condo, you cannot build because you're only one little unit within that whole entire property. So that's the difference. And I do have to say, when you're building buildings, you can do it correctly in such, the macro is correct. Then you can hire me, then we'll find the right unit, different models, different floor plans. Oh, this one is good for, your east chart person. Then I will find that unit that has, the east chart, that is good for them.
Perfect. One of the things that I always and I'm a very sensitive person. That's why these topics, like any practice that touches the intuition, the energy, and things a little bit out of the box in terms of how the human inhabitate the space. It interests me. So that's what I bring people that is working on this, because everything that takes into consideration the way that the humans experience the space is for me more coherent with our living, and is more aligned with the way that we should be living. No, so the feng shui is a practice that is millenary, like ancient. So can you go a little bit in deep of all the types of feng shui, because there is different, I will say, lines. I don't know, explain me, because I don't want to make any mistakes online. So the traditional feng shui, what's the difference of that versus whatever you find around that they are claiming to be the same
Well, I
or
can
same or
tell you
similar?
there's so many different schools. I don't even know. Why would I know? They're created, just recently, and people are just making things up. The feng shui that I practice has been passed on for thousands of years. These are literally records of why things are
Mhm,
the way things are. So it's scientific in that sense because it's proven.
mhm,
And the fact that, like I said, a lot of people, they just do the superficial, more interior decorating, if you will. If they want to help someone with the relationship, they would put two mandarin ducks on the nightstand. They're missing the point, because that may be nice, but if your whole entire bedroom is in the wrong location of your home, because I know I have your chart, I don't care how many mandarin ducks you're going to put
mhm,
on your nightstands to promote that. It's irrelevant. Does that make sense? And like I said, um, there's so many books written on feng shui,
mhm,
so I've even given up.
mhm.
And they have to actually write it in a general sense to appeal to the masses, so it's more common sense kind of thing. What does that mean? You don't want to actually, um, people say, oh, put the toilet lid down. It goes without saying, those are more common sense kind of thing.
Mhm.
And things that are a little bit more general, clearing the clutter, because if you have a lot,
Organization,
right, if you
cleaning.
have a lot of stuff, the chi is not flowing, the energy is not flowing, then it prevents, positive things coming into your life,
Mhm.
especially the entryway. If you have a small little entryway, you have a console table, you have, a bench,
Little.
the chi is not even coming in. So those
Mhm.
are all a little bit more general. Of course, in the books, they can only delve, a little bit more superficial.
Yes.
But I can say, there are many, many different schools. I don't
Mhm.
even know them. Why would I even
I'm
get to know them? Because I'm practicing the real deal, the
yes, that
actual customized feng shui, which is the form and compass. The form is seeing literally is the street running onto your house. Where's the water? The location of your bedroom. That is form, meaning I'm looking
mhm.
at the physical.
Mhm.
Compass is your energy, your customized energy.
Mhm.
So it's form and compass. It's combined. That's powerful.
Mhm.
It's not, some people, they actually called me and they're open because they have feng shui done, but because it actually was not very helpful. So they were open enough to actually call me. Some people, they actually had it done and it's not working. And they just said, oh, it's not actually, a good thing. But I do have some people, calling for second opinion. And when they explain to me what the other person has done, I am thinking, what on earth? So when I explain to them, my way of doing, and I teach them how to remedy,
Mhm.
they would call me, months later, oh my gosh, my life is, really shifted and
Yes.
changed for the better. So that's
That
the proof. When people are living well, they write testimonials. They
mhm.
they would call me back, oh my gosh, I see the shift.
Yeah. That leads me to my next question. That is something that I try to figure out with everybody that is doing or practicing any out of the typical practices implemented to design or construction. Why do you think this practice that gives so much or adds so much value to the design and construction industry is not more broadly implemented or recognized, like especially in this culture in the US or in Miami? It's very little use in terms of, big buildings, implementing into public areas, into commercial spaces that could impact more people. So in your professional experience, why do you think it's not more respected?
Well, I do think that it's gaining more, popularity since I've been here 20 years. When I first came here, people don't even know what is feng shui. Now people do know, but they really don't know. They think that it's the superficial.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm very passionate about educating, because they don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Without people like myself telling people that is not what feng shui really is,
Mm-hmm.
it's only the very superficial, then they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why people know in a very superficial sense. So that's why I'm very passionate about educating.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, especially recently, I've given talks. Even when Brickell City Center came up 2018, and it was by the Swire Group. It's, they're
Beautiful.
from Hong Kong,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on the 8th Street. It's not by chance. They want to make sure it's,
That's perfect.
aligned with, what they're looking for. And the Mandarin Oriental, same thing, by the Swire Group. But, like I said, most people don't know. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I do think that it's, important for me to really spread the gospel, because most people, they do know, but it's very superficial. And I need to debunk what the real
Exactly.
thing
Mm-hmm.
versus what they think that it is. So,
What would be your recommendation of people that is already curious about this or feel attracted to, using or implementing these techniques, and finding the right consultant, so they read or they go to first before they contact you? Because people, the majority of the clients, they want to know first, and then they find the right consultant, right? So where do they can look for some information that guide them? So what is the feng shui, and what is the real purpose of this? Well, how they can be helped through the use of this, so guide them.
well, if you are interested in, having feng shui done for your home or your business, make sure you call the person who actually has the experience. So you need
Mm-hmm.
to be a little bit more discerning in asking the questions. What is your background?
Mm-hmm.
What have you done?
Mm-hmm.
And if they only tell you they've done, a couple of homes here and there, then you wouldn't want someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, um, make sure it's not about the superficial kind of thing. If they
Mm-hmm.
advise you on more decorative, then it's more like interior decorative feng shui
Mm-hmm.
added. You want to make sure it's really in a deeper sense,
Mm-hmm.
meaning starting from the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at the whole entire, the outside,
Mm-hmm.
because the outside is even more important. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
the health of your body. It's
Mm-hmm.
the equivalent. Because if you live at the end of a, T junction or a dead end street and all
Mm-hmm.
those major problems, you have a, building built at an angle pointing at you,
Mm-hmm. It
the
will affect you, huh?
yeah, it's going to affect you. I don't care what you do on the inside, because, it's a little bit more superficial. So if you're the feng shui consultant, you have to ask those questions. If
Mm-hmm.
they gave you, the more superficial, you
Mm-hmm.
already know they're not the real deal.
They don't know exactly.
They don't know the real deal.
One last question, Sylvia, before we
Yes.
close. Any message to the emerging interior designers that are now getting formed, educated, to attract them to these type of practices and teachings? Because it's important that the new generation of interior designers are more educated. So do you have anything to say to them that they are listening to us?
um, do more research and also be open. And I am literally out there, as you
Uh-huh.
know, because I like to network, not only in the real estate community, also the design communities. It's building alliances with the right people so we can
Hmm.
create, a community that people are living well. It's all about the wellness of living. So if you really ask me, feng shui is the wellness of living. When you live well, everything in life will flow, whether
Awesome.
it's your, business life or your, personal life. You can't
Excellent.
do one without the other. I know a lot of people who are successful,
Hmm.
but in their personal life, they're not. and vice versa. So most of my clients, if I've done their home, they
Mhm.
want me to do their business and vice versa. So it's literally a cohesive, holistic approach to the wellness of living.
Yes. All right, Sylvia, thank you for being here. This is a beautiful way to close the first season of Deconstruction. This is the 24th chapter, and this is the closing of I will say an identity of the program and the starting of a new one, more aligned with professionals, materials, and companies that are centered into the human experience of space and to add value to the people that habitate. So thank you very much for being here and for closing this season.
It was a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Deconstruction Podcast. Your 5-star reviews really help us continue what we do. Please rate your listening experience, and let's keep building this beautiful community together. For exclusive access to more design content, visit thearchitecturalauthority.com or download our app from the App Store or Google Play. Until next time, stay creative.